of documenting rites and rituals. So first of all, I'd like to define what ethics are. We all know what ethics are. Ethics are rules, they are guidelines, or rather duties that you have to perform for something. But in this case, we're talking about the ethics of photography or in documenting rites and rituals. So, one thing I'd say is that as far as you're a photographer and you're documenting um be it an event, a ritual, a festival, or whatever it is, just see yourself as a silent observer. That's the first thing I'll say. You see yourself as a silent observer in any place you are documenting. The moment you pick up your camera to capture anything, whether it's an object, whether it's a subject, just have it at the back of your mind that you're a silent observer. But now, in the context of rites and rituals, you have to ask yourself the question: is the photo for me, or is it for the story? Most times, as photographers, we misplace our priorities in as much as we want to tell stories, we want the story to be beautiful. I see this story, I want to document it. You also have to put it at the back of your mind that this picture is not just for you. You are capturing these images for story's sake. So you must prioritize our protagonist's dignity over a cool shot. I know most times we might go for um events. I've seen myself going for burials, and then I see a cool shot that I want to take, maybe one of the family members crying, and aesthetically, that is a very, very clean shot that I'd like to take. But you also have to put yourself in your subject's shoe. Will this person be comfortable if he or she sees their picture outside? How how well have you framed that person? Is that person looking demeaning? What was the person's posture? Was the person's mouth wide open? How were the tears, the nose? And definitely, we know that if you're documenting burials and the person is deep into weeping, there might be some, little particles of mucus, maybe the catarrh and stuff like that. So you have to think of your protagonist. You have to think of your subject first before you pick your camera and snap. So now, before you can document anything, just the way we have it in storytelling when it comes to filmmaking, when it comes to documentary photography, we have like four stages in documenting photographs. We have the pre-production state, we have the production, and we have the post-production. The fourth can be the distribution or marketing stage. So before you go to document anything, you must first of all put your pre-production stage in mind and the cultural sensitivity. That's what I call it. So you must first ask yourself, what is the significance of this ritual? Don't ever underestimate the place of research. Photography is not just I was talking with some people, I think 2 days ago or so, and I told them that photography is not a side hustle. Don't see it as a side hustle, it's a career. So the way you do your research when you're in school, the way you do your research as a medical person, the way you do your research as a professional in your field, when it comes to photography, you also have to do your own research. What is this ritual about? What is this event about? Um, just ask questions. You can ask questions from the elders in whatever community you're going to go and document. You have resourceful people there that you can ask questions from. So just always make sure that you ask questions and then you have the right information in your mind before you go to document. Because I've seen situations where photographers go to some places and they end up getting harassed. I won't lie, I've been harassed like several times because of lack of information. So never underestimate the place of research before you pick your camera to capture any moment. And as I said, yeah, you have to speak with community leaders and you also have to understand boundaries. Hila, if you can move to the next slide. I think I'm in the next slide. Yeah, so you have to understand boundaries. Let me use an example. Last year, I went to cover a wedding. I've never been to a Catholic church, so and I know that every place of worship they have their rules. Even if it's not a place of worship, just anywhere you are going, they have rules that they abide with. So I went to this Catholic church, and that was my first time being in a Catholic church. The first thing I did was I asked one of the priests. I was putting on trousers definitely because you have to wear what is comfortable with you to be able to snap. And the first thing I asked is, please, where are my boundaries? What are my blockings? If you know what um, blockings are places that you can't cross. Now, this is in filmmaking when your director says, okay, this actor, you're not crossing this side, you're not crossing this part. The only space or stage you're going to utilize is this place. So I was in the church and I first asked, please, where am I supposed to step? Am I supposed to pass through this altar? If I'm coming to the stage to snap the couple, how do I do it? Because I notice before you pass the altar, you must bow in respect and then pass. So you have to ask questions even before. Never get familiar with an environment. Though it's a two side of a coin, it's good to be familiar so you'll be able to document right. But then on the other hand, don't get too familiar that you feel at home and you forget that these are people's stories you are capturing and these are people's lives, these are people's beliefs. So never get too familiar. Always ask questions, even if you know it. Ask to still remind yourself that this is what I'm supposed to do and this is what I'm not supposed to do. So that was what guided me that period. I asked questions. I knew my boundaries. I knew that, okay, I can't step on this. I can't go here. I can only capture from this angle. I can only capture from that angle. So always ask questions. Don't assume. As a documentary photographer, you are not supposed to assume, you are not supposed to presume, you are not supposed to be careless on anything. Because if anything happens at the end of the day, any subject has every right to sue you for whatever you do. So you always have to ask the questions. What are my boundaries? What are some secret places that I cannot step or that I cannot cross? If I be in the mosque, we all know that you're not supposed to enter the mosque with your shoes. So these are just little, they might sound very petty, but then these are sensitive information about people's lives, about people's space, and about people's community that you need to know and you need to ask. And there are some rituals, or let me say festivities, that there are faces that outsiders are not even allowed. So you need to know what moments you need to be allowed, where you are supposed to be allowed. Now, research isn't just about lighting and location. It is about understanding the taboos. You need to know what are the taboos of this community. I can go to a community and then one of the taboo is that um I shouldn't leave my hair open. As a photographer, I have to abide with it. There's this saying that says when you're in Rome, you behave like the Romans. So when you find yourself in such a community, I'll say that sometimes some of these rules or some of these beliefs are not convenient. But as a photographer, things are not meant to be convenient for you. They are meant to abide by what the community states. So we we need to make our research. We need to know what we are going to do, ask questions, ask the elders. Don't ever feel ashamed of asking questions. Nobody goes wrong when asking questions. And besides, you're asking these questions so that it will guide you through your process of documenting. And then the other phase is you have to understand your subject. That is the research phase. So photography isn't just capturing moments, it is creating a historical record. Have it as your blueprint that when you are capturing a moment, you are not just capturing it for capturing sake because, oh, I love this frame, I love this composition, it looks very good. You are capturing it because you are creating a historical record. There are photographers that documented pictures that they never even knew would go international. So imagine they just documented out of carelessness. Yeah, okay, I just want to document this picture because I feel the subject looks good, my frame looks good, and then that is it. That is why we call it documentary. Documentary is all about story. Forget the aesthetics. Though our composition, our framing need to be part of it, but you have to put your story first. And you need to check what significance does it make? Does it have any cultural impact? Does it have any historical record? Will it give any social impact? Always ask yourself this question before you even click your shutter, before you leave your house. So our cameras are not toys that we just pick whenever we want to pick them and then document. It's very okay for lifestyle photographers to pick their camera and then snap however they want to snap. They're documenting lifestyle and it needs to go natural. But as documentary photographers, we must have it in mind that I am telling a story and I'm not just telling an abstract story. I'm telling a story about a subject. Telling a story about a community. I'm telling a story about a particular ritual. I'm telling a story about a festival. Just have that one printed out. Another thing is when you are documenting ceremonies and rituals, just know that as a photographer, you are the bridge between the community and the world. So whatever you capture with your lens, just know that you're the mediator. You're the mediator between the community. You're the mediator between the community and the world. Sorry. So when you are taking that, ask yourself, what is this picture speaking? I always boil back to storytelling because for me, documentary itself is a storytelling. If your pictures don't have a story, then sorry, that's not documentary. That's just some maybe abstract images being captured somewhere. But as far as you're a documentary photographer, you will need to know that you have to tell stories. And if your pictures are not telling stories, then that picture is not good enough to even be put out there. Because whatever you put out there will give people an image of a community, it will give people an image about the beliefs of the people. So you have to consider, in as much as you want to take pictures out there that boost your portfolio, you want to take pictures out there that makes you feel good. Yes, I took a cool shot. You have to put it also at the back of your mind that I am taking this picture. I am a bridge between the community and the world. Whatever they see on your frame, whatever they see printed out, it is the information that they get. It's just like the media. Let me take Africa now as an example. We know we usually have this common stereotype about African stories and then about what the media tells about Africa. So that's to show you how powerful the media tool is, or you using the media as a tool to tell your stories. If you check most times, you will either see, okay, African stories are always about poverty, they're always about struggle. It just has to be something negative, one way or the other, which is in quote a stereotype. So as a storyteller now, you are the tool that people see the world through. Whatever you document is what people's perception is about a particular person and about a particular community. So the dignity of your subject, as I said, it must outweigh the aesthetic value of your picture. Forget aesthetics for now. Forget whatever it is in the background, in the foreground. Forget it for now. The question is your protagonist safe? Because as far as I'm concerned, your protagonist is your own. I don't want to call it a tool because it's a person, but your protagonist is someone that you should protect. So whatever you are taking out there should be something that will be of interest to your protagonist, not just to yourself. So this is not a time for you to be selfish. I love this, and because I love it, I want to take it out. No, I've seen situations where pictures are being asked to be brought down because it breached somebody's maybe reputation. So you have to be very, very careful with your subject and see whether you are documenting your subject it might not just be a subject, it might be a group of people. If you're snapping a crowd or having an aerial view, definitely the whole community is your subject. So when I talk about subject, I'm not just talking about the portraits of a person. I'm talking about whatever it is that is within your frame, whatever it is that is in focus. You have to consider the dignity of that thing. Now, beyond beyond your signature, you have to also seek consent, especially in cultural documentation. You have to seek consent. Most times, can we move to the next slide? So, um, most times as photographers, we forget the place of consent, which is a very, very core part of photography. And then I believe consent is something that is not really respected in this country. That is why maybe creatives or photographers, filmmakers, creatives in general, maybe that's why they don't take it serious. But consent is so important to the point where if you document a picture, a very sensitive picture for that matter, without consent, as a photographer, you might be sued. And when you are going to be sued for that picture, you are not going to be sued a little sum of money. It is going to be a very, very huge, huge amount of money, depending on how sensitive that information is. So always seek consent from, that's why we have the village elders there, we have the community leaders there, and you have your subjects there. There are some sensitive photographs that you should take that you must seek consent from people. Recently, I was working on a documentary, and it's a very, very sensitive part because number one, my subject cannot talk. Number two, my subject is an illiterate. They don't even know what a consent form is. They don't know anything about that. So as a careless photographer now, I can just be like, okay, since these people don't even know anything about the law, they don't know anything about copyright, intellectual property, they don't know anything about consent, I will just document the image and I'll upload it wherever I want to upload it. In fact, I might even want to sell it if I want to sell it. But that is a very, very big mistake because I asked myself the question, what if I I end up documenting these pictures and then after 10 years, after 15 years, something rises, maybe from the family, from the grandchildren that now understand what consent is, and now understand what copyright and intellectual property is. And they sue me for documenting a subject which happens to be their great grandparent or their great grandfather or mother without their consent. What is it going to be on me? So there are sensitive documentations we need to do that we must seek consent. And we're not just seeking the consent verbally, we are seeking it in a written form. When you go online, there are a lot of templates to consent forms for photographers, for filmmakers, for videographers. There are a lot of consent forms out there. So if you have your lawyer, it's just something that, okay, this is what I want to do. I want to document this festival, I want to document this subject, but I want to give them this consent form. Help me go through it. Do not underestimate the place of a lawyer in your craft. Forget the fact that I usually tell people that I'm not just a photographer because I see photography as my own career. So go beyond seeing yourself as just a cameraman in quotes that people say. See yourself as a photographer. See yourself as not just a photographer, but you're a documentary photographer. See yourself not just as a documentary photographer, but that you own a company and this is your business. So you're going to treat it as your business. The way we treat our other side businesses is the same way you should treat this craft because it is very, very sensitive. Photography is very, very sensitive when it comes to the media. So you have to seek consent. Give these people consent. They should read and they should understand and they should sign it. So that tomorrow, and most times when you are putting things that should be in your consent form, please don't play smart. you'd have to outline everything you are going to use their pictures to do. In my case, I outlined what I was going to use their pictures to do. I told them, yes, I can use it for marketing purposes. I would like to send it for festivals. I'd like to do an archive. At the end of the day, maybe it might be in a museum. People might come, look at it. I'm going to copyright it that, yes, I am the person that took this picture. But I'm not just going to do this and take people's picture out there, especially if it is sensitive, without giving them a consent form to fill. So in a position where these people cannot fill a consent form, you have to look for someone close to them. There must be a family member somewhere. There must be community elders somewhere to fill in the consent. Now, in a case where you are capturing something that has to do with festival, it's not something that you give people a consent from individually. No, that is why you have the chiefs in the village heads, the emirs. You hand it over to them. This is it. This is the consent. This is what I'm using your pictures for. Except if you were hired to snap these pictures. And even if you were hired as a photographer, you must have a contract form. I'm going to press on these facts because it's something that has really, really cheated creatives in a way, lack of contract. So you must have a contract form. I don't step out of my house for any job to document anything without both parties signing a contract. So on the other end, whoever it is that is hiring you, you know that the person is signing a contract. You will give the person your pros and cons. You're going to give the person your terms and conditions. It mustn't be something that is going to be very, very rigid. It can be flexible, but just know that you outline everything. Let them know and let them see that this is what is happening. So that tomorrow, if anything happens, your hands are not tied. You know that you have evidence. So that is that you can read more, you can study more about photography contracts, consent forms for subjects, especially if it has to do with sensitive matters. And don't always wait till they're sensitive matters. It might just be as simple as which example will I use? It might just be as simple as you snapping someone with tribal marks. You give the person consent because this is the person's face that you are putting out there to the world. So you're giving a consent that, okay, I am taking this picture out. Are you okay with me taking the pictures out? That is where the place of dignity comes in. You protecting the dignity of your subject, you protecting the dignity of your protagonist. So it is just simple courtesy. The way we have normal courtesy in our everyday life, you see someone in the morning, hey, good morning, how are you doing? Hope you slept well. Simple etiquette and courtesy. In photography, we have etiquette, we have courtesy. So you must abide by these rules. You can't run away from it, especially if you are a documentary photographer, which is what we are talking about, documenting pictures. It's very okay if you're just a regular photographer, maybe a beauty photographer. In fact, even when it comes to beauty photography and when it comes to fashion photography, they sign contracts. They seek consent. I've seen a situation where I have a friend that is a beauty photographer, and then he snapped this girl during her birthday, and he wanted to do a flex banner for his studio to just hang for easy description and easy recognition. And her boyfriend saw the picture in front of his studio. He took him to the police station. He didn't even ask him questions. He didn't even come to the studio to say, oh, sorry, why did you put my girlfriend's picture? Why did you have to print her picture and then put it out there for everybody to see? And mind you, this was not a disturbing picture. This was not a picture that exposed any part of her body. It was just a regular birthday picture that she snapped, and the photographer thought, oh, I love this picture. Why won't I just print it? And he went ahead, he printed a flex banner, which he had to pay money. He had to pay for damages for that thing that he did. So imagine if this guy had signed a contract with her or has given her a consent form that, okay, this is how my business operates. Definitely as a photographer, you own the copyright to whatever picture you snap. every client you snap or every subject you snap is just paying you for your services. The person is not paying you for that picture. The person is paying for your services. But you will have to outline it that, okay, these pictures that I'm taking, I might print it. So in case you see it out there tomorrow, I have already taken permission. Now that my friend had every right to print that, to use that picture, yes, I would say if it's going to be for digital purposes, but he went ahead to print it, which I would say it's also okay because most photographers do that, and some clients would even be happy that their pictures are on the billboard, their pictures are out there and people are seeing. But our subjects are different. You cannot treat your subjects the same way you treat other people. So please, one of the ethics of documenting, one of the ethics of being a documentary photographer is you have to take the dignity of your protagonist serious, one. Number two, you have to take the place of contract and consent very, very serious. As minor as it is, as minor as even a modeling shoot might be, sign a contract with whoever it is you are documenting with your camera. Because as I said, your camera is a media tool that bridges the gap between the community and the world, or that bridges the gap between your clients and how the world sees the person. So you have to put this at the back of your mind. Now, another part is we need to know that sometimes when we are documenting, your participants that are there or the subjects that are there might ask you to stop documenting at any time, and you have no option than to stop. It is not your right. You have to stop because you are telling people stories. You, at times, I don't know if anybody has the experience where you go for events, you're capturing moments, and then some people will try to put their hand on their face so that you will not capture them because they don't want to be seen. Please respect people's privacy. Anybody that doesn't want to be captured in the camera, respect the person, shift your lens and document something else. Some people don't like their pictures out there. Last year around August, I'll keep bringing personal experiences so that these things will be applicable to our everyday lives, and so that it's not be as if I'm just speaking gibberish. Yes. So I was in Maiduguri to document something. I went as a photographer for an NGO that deals with childbirth, child spacing, and issues like that. Now, these people were given consent for, mind you. So there is another phase to it. They were given consent form. All of them signed the consent form. But you know, they did not allow me to snap their wives because they were not comfortable with it. And I'm not going to raise my shoulder and say, you already signed consent form. I already told you I'm going to snap your family. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. And then I'll just go ahead and snap. They can decide to do whatever they want to do with me. And I don't have mouth to talk. So always respect people's privacy. When a subject doesn't show interest in being in your frame or being captured, please excuse yourself. Don't force it on the person. Excuse yourself. In my case, I had to accept it as it was. It wasn't convenient. It will not always get convenient for you. That's the truth. That's why at the beginning, I said, beyond the cool shot, beyond the aesthetics, think of the story and think about the dignity of your subject. So I knew that cutting their heads off was going to, in fact, it totally altered my story. It totally altered the essence of the picture. But I don't have a choice because this is someone's life. And they clearly said, I don't want my face to be shown. In fact, in some instances, you won't even be allowed in the premises. If Let me bring it down to northern Nigeria. I'm from the north, so I know how the thick thick north can be, thick northeastern states, northwestern states. I know how serious we can be when it comes to privacy. And then that's why you see most times it's either men are not being allowed, and then they'll have to look for a female photographer, or they'll have to look for a female assistant to do these things. Please, you have to respect their belief. You have to respect their choice. People have the right to believe, they have the right to choice. So you just have to respect, in as much as you have your own rights as a photographer to these people that you are documenting, they have their rights. It is one of the ethics when it comes to documentary photography. Please respect people's rights. And then be careful of images that are disturbing. Images that when you put out there, they will actually disturb the audience. At times you would see that some photographs will be snapped and they will blur some places out. Is because they're very disturbing. So you have to be careful with disturbing pictures, pictures of vulnerable children, um, pictures of war, maybe blood, just any picture that you know will feel your audience feel a little bit sick, in a way, sick in the mind. Now, that's what I'm talking about. Be careful with them. Vulnerable children, it might be elderly people, it might be someone's emotional state during a ritual, during an initiation, during a festival. As I use the example of a bear for example now, you have to be careful with people's emotional states. Somebody is crying, weeping, rolling on the floor. As documentary photographers, I know us, we love those kind of moments. And then you're just too fast to click your shutter. You just do chakam and you take that person's image, you release it, and it becomes a problem. So, in as much as we want our pictures to actually have stories, we want them to be story worthy. Also, put it in your mind that you have to you have to avoid people's emotional state. You have to avoid people's emotional state, especially when it is vulnerable. Even in churches, I've seen situation where um maybe photographers are snapping, people might be falling under anointing, stuff like that, and then they're just too fast to snap. At the end of the day, pictures are all over on Facebook, they're all over on Instagram, and the person doesn't feel good about it. It might be an accident, and then you just go pa 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 pa. You take it, and people don't feel good about it. So that's why I said you always have to think of yourself as not just the photographer, but you have to put yourself in your subject's shoe. If you were the person in that state and you see a vulnerable picture of you out there, would you accept it? So documentary photography is very, very corny. It is tricky. That's the truth. It is tricky. Sometimes you wouldn't even know the pictures that will make it out there. You will know the pictures that won't. You will know the pictures that will cause problem. You will know the pictures that will not. So you have to be very, very sensitive, and you have to apply wisdom when you are documenting issues like this. Which takes me to the next thing, that is technical integrity. We can move to the next slide, Hilary. Thank you. So talking about technical integrity now, you have ethics is not just in the moral stand view, it's not just in the moral aspect. You can also be ethical in your choice of gadgets when you are snapping. Number one, when you are documenting in a place that is solemn, you are documenting in a place that is quiet, please, there is a place in, I believe you're all professionals, so in your camera there is a place where you can switch on and off the sound of the camera. That's when you are clicking your shutter. Most times, we snap the sound that camera makes. That's the shutter. Yes, the shutter sound. So you have to be careful with that sound. It's not everywhere that you allow that sound. So imagine you're in a place of worship and the whole place is quiet. And as a photographer, you just chuck, 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 and you are making noise and you are distorting the place. It is very, very unprofessional. It's different if the place is a bit noisy and then the sound cannot be heard, it just disappears in the crowd. It is very, very okay. But please, when you're in a solemn state, when you're in a solemn place where, be it worship, um, be it a ritual, initiation, just a place where you know anything you do as a photographer is going to disrupt the process of that thing that is happening. Please, you have to be very, very careful with your gear choice. So here, as I said, you have to turn off, sorry, your shutter, make it silent. And then in using your light, we all know what a speed light is, our top flash and whatever light we are using to snap. You have to be careful where you use that. I know sometimes we might have ourselves in indoor places where we have where we need light to take the pictures. But then in situations like that, if your speed light or if the light you are using on your camera is going to disrupt the process, please turn it off. Don't use it. It's either you maneuver your way to get a good image out of that place or you let it be. It might be very painful. That's what I'm saying. As a documentary photographer, sometimes things are not convenient for us. I was telling one of my mentors, and I'm like, if I'm to calculate the number of pictures that I miss daily, anytime I go out, if I'm to convert it into dollars, I know how many $1,000 I'm going to get, and I know how rich I would have become. So pictures are like currencies. Just let them go. Sometimes you see a perfect shot, you see a perfect story that you want to tell, but in the position where you are, whatever you do might cause disruption or might cause disturbance. Please don't take that picture. Let it be. Just leave it. One thing I believe is there is no particular story. There are always stories out there. If you miss today's story, doesn't mean you won't get another story tomorrow. Though some stories you hardly see them again because they are just things that happen naturally. They are not staged like we do in beauty shots. This is not something that you are staging. This is something that is just happening naturally in the environment, and then you want to document it. So if you're in a situation where the flash from your camera is going to disrupt any process in any ritual, worship, event, please take it off. And sometimes, okay, which takes me back to the third point, that's our choice of lens. Our choice of lens directly and indirectly affects the process of our documentation. So most times for me, if I'm going out to document, I usually love to use the 24 to 70 mm. And this is my reason. I use that because I don't need to go too close to my subject to get a shot. I don't need to put it on their faces that, oh, yes, I'm snapping you. So it's like I'm giving them that snap, that space. Learn to give your subject, learn to give your environment space. Don't just come and stand in front of somebody and just hold your camera and start snapping the person. No, it doesn't work that way. Except it is a staged photo, or except it is a picture that you have taken consent that, okay, I want to snap you. And then, yeah, no problem. You can go and you can stand in front of the person. You can tell the person how to pose. Okay, I need you there. You know that sometimes there are documentary photographs that are staged. Yeah, it happens. Especially if you are snapping the process of something, maybe you're documenting an illegal mining stuff. You might tell your subject, okay, I need you to be breaking the stones. Okay, now shift from the stones. I want you to be packing them inside the sack. Okay, now shift from the sack. I want you to stand in front of the mining place to get an estab shot. That is a different aspect. But in a situation where you don't have the time in your hands, number one, and then it is not something that you can control, please be mindful of the lenses that you use. Most times it's easier to to get your 35 mm. It's easier to get your 50 mm. At least in a way, 50 mm can allow you snap from afar. If you shift yourself far, maybe to get an estab shot, you can get that with a 50 mm, and it can also allow you to get a bit of a medium wide shot. It can allow you to get um a bit of a medium close up. Yes, but we know that 50 mm is not something that we can zoom in and out. Is a prime lens. It is fixed. So that's where the issue of research now comes in. Know what you are going to go and document so that you will know what lens you are going to use. Imagine you want to document something in a shrine. We all know how shrines are, an enclosed space. It is small, and then you carry an 85 mm. Sorry, you 85 mm is not going to do you anything there, because most times 85 mm are for close shots. They are for portraits. So since you already have a knowledge, you've made your research, okay, I'm going to document an initiation that is happening at a shrine. I'm going to document a confession that is happening at a shrine. You already have it that, okay, I don't need an 85 mm. I don't need a flash, so I'll not be flashing light on people's faces. This is what I'm going to do. I'll just get maybe 24 to 70 mm, yes, or maybe I might just get it 35 mm, and this is going to give me an estab shot of the whole place. So, which takes me back to the place of research, that you need to know what you are documenting. Documentary photography is something that is carefully done. It is carefully done. You wouldn't like to see me when I'm preparing for documentary pictures. It's as if I'm preparing to go and defend the project. I do a lot of paperwork. I do storyboarding, which is very, very important for photographers. It's not just enough to just go somewhere and you pick your camera and whatever frame comes to your mind, you you just do it. No. So you have to know the shots you are taking. Please, I know that you're a guru, I know that you're a professional, but even professionals, they write down what they are going to do. So at least I know that when I'm going to this place, yeah, I'm supposed to have an estab shot. And mind you, this okay, I'm seeing someone that has a question. I'll respond to a question after the session. Sorry. So you can just drop your questions down. At the end of the day, I'll answer everyone. Thank you. Yeah. So I was talking about storyboarding. It is very, very essential. And storyboarding helps you in knowing the kind of gears you are going to carry. It helps you to know the kind of camera you are going to carry. It helps you know that, okay, I'm going to document in this particular environment. I need this shot, I need that shot. These are my boundaries. They say I can't go towards the altar. They said I can't climb this staircase. They say I can't stand in front of the priest. They say. That is where your research comes in. So all these things, if you check it at the end of the day, they are intertwined. You cannot just run away from them. They are intertwined. That is what makes a professional documentary photographer. That is what differentiates you from any other roadside photographer that just picks up the camera and just snaps anything that the person sees on the street. And believe me, whoever sees how careful you are, whoever sees how collated you are, whoever sees how you carry yourself as a photographer will have a respect, will have deep respect for you as a photographer. It is you getting your honors. So don't see it as something that is going to be ambiguous. Don't see it as, I hate rules. I don't like this. Life itself, we are guided by rules. So as a photographer, you have to deal with the rules of photography also. The last point I put here is using longer focal lengths, that's for the telephoto lenses, helps you to stay out of the physical space of the ritual. So most times telephoto lenses are almost our perfect kind of lens for documenting. If you see any serious documentary photographer, they love to use the telephoto lens, because whichever distance you are, you can zoom and get a good portrait. You can get a wide shot. You can just play around with frames, you can play around with shots. But in a case where you cannot afford a telephoto lens, use what you have. But in the process of using what you have, please know your boundaries. Know where you're going to cross and know where you're not going to cross. Now it takes me to our next subtext, which is compositional narrative techniques. We all know what compositions are. Compositions are how we neatly or carefully arrange the elements in our frame or the subject in our frame. Most times it mustn't be a subject. Your protagonist can be an object. It might just be a bead, it might just be a calabash, it might just be fire. But the most important thing is, how do you compose these pictures? So most times I'm documenting when I'm documenting pictures like these, I have major shots that I know that I cannot go past them, and I'm going to share them with us. I believe every professional photographer, in your gallery of pictures, in your gallery of events, as I said, we are storytellers. Even when it comes to how we arrange our pictures on our pages, how we arrange our pictures on our portfolio, there is a certain way that your pictures should be arranged. Don't just arrange your pictures randomly. It doesn't work. So you have to be careful with your storytelling. The question is, how do you tell these stories with your frame? Though I know composition is a very, very big topic that cannot even be finished in a day. That's a master class on its own. But we are going to touch some major shots that you would need if you're documenting anything that has to do with processes, anything that has to do with precision and procession, just anything of that sort. So one is your OTS, which is over the shoulder. And most times we use these shots to give the protagonist perspective. Even in movies, we've seen where um, a protagonist is being shown and we are seeing from that person's perspective to another thing. Maybe he's looking at the sky, he might be looking at the person he's speaking to, he might be looking at a cup. Just snap from your protagonist's perspective. Now, this is what it helps you do. That at the end of the day, you're not just snapping a protagonist in any ritual or in anything, but then you're making your audience to relate to the environment. The protagonist or your subject is not the only person that is there. There are other activities that are happening. So let us see from your protagonist's perspective that this is what is going on. The other one is your detailed shots or your macro shots, which focuses on, as the name implies, it focuses on details. It might be instruments, it might be beads, it might be just someone's hand wearing a bracelet. Those are detailed shots. And all these are supposed to be in your sequence of photographs when you're documenting. It's not just enough to get a wide shot, it's not enough to get an establishment shot of what is going on. People would want to see, just think of your audience as people that like gossip. The way your friend will tell you, okay, I have a gist for you, and you're so eager to hear the crux of the matter, you're so eager to hear the person hit the nail. That is the same way you should take your pictures. That's why I said your documentary pictures should be in sequence. Let us see the details of what is going on. It might just be the babalao maybe holding an ash and then trying to blow it, and pop, you capture the ash being blown into the wind. That is a very, very dope shot. So you have to be careful with details. As a photographer, you need to have eyes to see. Another thing is there is something I call the WHW framing style, which we've done English language essay writing, where they talk about the WH series. In photography, we also have our WH series. So in this case now, your WHW framing is your where. That's where where the ritual is happening, where the festival is happening. Is it happening in a shrine? Is it happening in a market square? Is it happening in a mosque? Is it happening in a church? Is it just happening in an open space? You need to know where it is happening. The H now stands for how. How is like what is going on? How is it being processed? How do you document it? The other one is the why. Why is it happening? So quickly now, the WH framing, Hilary, we can quickly move there. I'll soon be rounding up. Sorry, I might be talking too much. All right. So number one, I said, is it this? No, not this one. Still at the previous document before we go to the visual aspect. Yeah, after this. Perfect. Thank you. So number one, I said your to answer the question of the first W, which is the where and what, you have to answer it with your white shot. You have to answer it with your establishing shot. Because when you're asking the question where something is happening, it definitely has to be a white shot. People want to see the whole aerial view. People want to see the whole estab view of what is happening. People want to see the scenery of the place. It might be with a drone, it might be with your wide lens, but you need to have that picture. In fact, that is the first part of storytelling, your estab. If you check in any movie, you see that they usually start with an estab of the community, a drone view or a bird eye view of how the place looks like. So this is the first shot that you should get in every documentary you are doing. The next thing now is the how. Now the how is your medium shots, which explains how your subject and then how the people are relating to their environment. The next is the why, which is usually portrayed in close up, as I said. Those are your detailed shots. So, what is happening? Is the person crying? Is the person drinking blood from a calabash? Are they trying to put a medal on the person's neck? Are they trying to inaugurate the person for something? Just let us see those details. And I bet you by the time you have this sequence of picture that your audience are being able to see the whole scenery, your audience are able to see the happenings around the environment, what is happening, and your audience see those details that are in your that are in the ritual or those details are in your frame, you are good to go. Wherever you submit pictures like this, everybody knows that it is a professional that snapped these kind of pictures. And in fact, it makes them feel you actually know what you are doing. Because for someone to um carefully do a framing in such manner, for someone to carefully put himself in the audience shoes, this is what they want to see. I know they would like to see this. Everybody will know that you know what you are doing. So I said our goal is to be a shadow. If the participants are looking at your camera instead of the ritual, you have become a part of the event instead of a documentation of it. So you need to act as a ghost when you are documenting. That is part of the ethics. Please act as a ghost. That is why most times when you check where photographers are, when you check where media people are, you see that they are dressed in dark colors. Please don't go somewhere wearing bright colors. Maybe you are wearing one red and yellow. It doesn't make sense because you are going to confuse the people there. You are going to distract them. I've never gone to an event or I've never gone somewhere and then I'll see a photographer wearing coats of many colors. You are meant to look insignificant. If you are documenting a procession, you are documenting something, and most of your viewers' eye are on you, that means the aim is defeated. It's not supposed to be so. So, one of the ethics that you should have is that you have to play invisible. Don't distract your audience. Can we move to the visual display of the WH framing? So let me just show us a visual display of how the WH framing works. Yes. So we could actually use this for an establishing shot. Most times your establishing shot doesn't have to be with a drone. It doesn't have to be a bird eye view. Whatever picture you snap, or whatever picture you snap, and you are able to see everything that is happening in the environment from the elements, we call them mise-en-scenes. Mise-en-scenes are those elements in your frame that adds up to the story of your picture. In this case, our mise-en-scene might be these candles, it might be those grasses. Some mise-en-scenes you cannot control them. Some of the mise-en-scenes you can control them. So just know that any element in your frame that adds to the story in your picture is called a mise-en-scene. So we have to be careful with the elements that are in our picture. Whichever element is in your picture that is going to distort your story, take it out. It is part of the ethics. Let's imagine um a ritual like this that is going on, and then we have a naked child maybe somewhere behind trying to run or pass. That is a bad shot, because you are going to take away your viewer's eye from what is really happening there to a naked child that maybe is just innocent and is running, which has totally altered the message of your picture. So you have to be careful with your framing. You have to be careful with your foreground. What is in your foreground? Is it making sense? No, remove it. It might just be a Coke bottle. We know how brands can be very sensitive. It might just be a Coke bottle, and Coke is not the one that is sponsoring your shoot. So it is very okay for you to take it out, because you don't want to see the Coke logo in your picture. So you have to be careful what you see in your picture before you take any shot. As I said, some things, some elements in the picture cannot be controlled. That is why we have our two legs. Please change angle, change position. Nobody is burying our legs in one place that I must take it from this angle. That is why you have to learn how to improvise. You have to learn how to think fast. Rituals will not wait for you. Processions will not wait for you. When you are taking events, nobody is going to wait for you. So you have to act very smart. You have to act very smart. Let's take an instance of this. Is it Agungo Fishing Festival? Yes, that happened. Nobody is. Imagine you missed a shot. You cannot go and tap somebody and say, sorry, please enter the river again. I want to snap. It is not possible. The person will just look at you like, are you okay? So whatever angle you are snapping that you know this is going to distort the message of my picture, this is going to distort the storytelling of this picture, change angle. But in as much as you're changing your angle, just make sure that you have the right composition to the picture. So this is just a visual display of a typical wide or an establishing shot. As I said, it mustn't be a drone that is flying and you're seeing the whole of Abuja, or you're seeing the whole of central area. No. It might just be you seeing everything that is happening. This picture is very complete. That's why it's an estab shot. You are seeing the people, that's your subjects. You are seeing what is happening. Anybody that sees this know that it is a ritual that is going on. What are now the things that are making the ritual happen? You are seeing fire. Maybe you want to burn something, they want to offer incense, they want to give sacrifice or something. So already this picture explains itself. Let's move to the next picture. Now, this is a medium shot. So most times our medium shots are action shots, things that are happening. From the previous image, we see an estab of a ritual happening. Now, how would the medium shot be? It might just be maybe the woman in front or the man in front holding a pot of fire in the person's hand and then doing some incantations, and you've gotten your medium shot. So at least your audience have it in mind that, okay, this person is from the first image, this person is not alone, there are people around, there are other elements around the picture. And then your next sequence of photo is going to be the action happening in the picture. What is happening? People want to see what is happening. In this case, you'll see that the children are playing. Now, an estab shot of this picture might just be a whole picture of the children, the houses around, maybe people passing. That is an estab shot. But now the action, the medium shot is that we are seeing what these children are doing. If you notice, the buildings are not even showing because we are not focused on the scenery. We are focused on what these people are doing, which is supposed to be the second sequence of your picture. If we see in the next frame, that is what is going on too. We are seeing a medium shot of what is going on. Let's move to the next. All right. So now these are close-up pictures. That is our last W, which is why. Why this picture? It might be the person talking or explaining something. It might be the person crying. If you notice, I just put pictures of subjects here. I forgot to add maybe object or something to it, but please, it mustn't be a human figure. It might just be an object. It might just be the flame of the fire. It might just be a bead falling. That is a detailed shot. That is a close shot that, okay, we are seeing what is happening. From this first image, what attracted me to this man was his eyes. That was all. It was during a cultural festival in my view. That was the only thing that attracted me to this picture. It was his eyes. So your viewers want to see what is so spectacular about the close-up shots that you are doing. The second picture, I had to go close because I saw how her teeth is just disorganized, showing that, okay, this is actually an old woman. So imagine you just give a medium shot of this woman. Nobody is going to know, yes, what is that about the picture? So your pictures have to tell stories. Anyone that sees this and has sense at least will know, okay, this woman is tricking in age from her teeth. So there must be a defining factor in your picture that will make your audience know that, okay, this is the reason why this photographer snapped this. You won't always have the luxury of time to explain pictures to people. I tell people that a good story are stories that are not being explained. They are stories that when someone looks at your visuals, when someone looks at what you've written, the person is able to understand. It's just like using filmmaking as an example. You write a film or maybe you shoot a film and you now have to start explaining for people on Instagram or on YouTube that okay, this was the reason why I did the film or in this scene, this one is supposed to be happening. As a creative, you have to be you have your creativity has to be so simple that when people look at it, they totally understand. As I said, you don't have the luxury of time to be explaining to people, I took this shot because of this. Most times I query people that work with me on set. I'll be like, why this image? They don't start explaining. I wanted to do something like this. I was like, okay, for the fact that you're explaining this shot to me means you got a very, very bad film. So as a photographer, always know that you don't always have to explain pictures to people. When people look at it, they should understand. And believe me, by the time you work with this WHW framing strategy, you are good to go. In fact, you getting this will is enough reason for them to know that you are you know what you are doing, you know your job, you're a professional, and you know your boundaries, you know your space. So as I said, it's on a two side of a coin, and then that's why choosing your gear and then choosing this is very, very important. All these pictures, I didn't go in front of them and then I just carried my camera and I snapped them. Because believe me, when you're going to a place where the people are not literate, when you're going to a place where people don't actually understand storytelling, they are always skeptical when they see camera. You enter villages and you see children running when they see drone, or you enter a place and you see, people covering their faces, maybe using hijab to cover their face. They don't want to be seen. So don't put it at people's faces. That's why your research is important, and choosing the kind of lens you are going to use in any ritual is important, so that you won't make the person feel very uncomfortable. Some might be aware, some might not be aware. Some shots can be stolen. Yes, they say something in filmmaking: cheat but don't get caught. They should not catch you, sha. So that's why that's where the place of using gears that is not going to disrupt whatever it is that is happening is very, very important. So I don't know if I've done justice to that. Now, I'm going to talk lastly about how we are going to upload our pictures on the Wikimedia platform. There are rules to these things. As I said, you won't just jam pack your pictures however it is, put close up shots here, carry this one, put here, carry this one, put it will be the personally, I'm a very strict person. Honestly, if I'm part of the jury, and I just see the way you place your picture safe, is an automatic no for me. Because I'll believe that no matter how good you are, you should be able to know how to sequence your images, and then you should be able to know how to tell your stories. So when you're uploading your pictures, please don't just upload them haphazardly. Carefully upload them. Okay, which shot should go first? It's just like you trying to tell someone a gist. You start from the introduction. Okay, this is what is happening, and then you begin to get your inciting incident. Storytellers will understand this better, where you have your beginning, middle, and end. As a photographer, know the beginning of your picture, know the middle of your picture, know the end of your picture. What is the exposition? That's your estab. Okay, what am I trying to tell them? I'm trying to tell them that there is a wedding ceremony happening here. Pam, you put your estab shot first. What's the next thing I'm saying? Okay, I know that they would love to see the couple. They would love to see when they are being joined. Pam, you get your medium shot of the couple putting the rings, or of them doing whatever it is. But as far as your couple, the priest, or whoever it is in frame. Next, what do they want to see? Ha! This one that he's putting this in, what kind of ring is that? It might be that, okay, let me see their hands. What other close up can I take? Maybe you can take the expression on the husband's face, him smiling. You can take the expression on the bride's face, smiling. That is where it will take you to the next sequence. So it mustn't be one picture per se. It might just be series of maybe three images per framing, and then you just upload it. And believe me, if you have someone like me in your jury, it's already a go for me. Even if that person doesn't end up those images don't end up getting picked or something, at least I know that okay, this person actually understands the context of storytelling. This person actually understands what he or she is doing. So when we are uploading our pictures, please, let's not upload it anyhow. And then there is a space where we are going to be given a space to describe our images. Don't just describe your images anyhow. Your man is putting ring inside her finger, bam, you are done. Babalawo is carrying fire and blowing it, bam, you are done. Let's be articulate. As I said, photography is a career. When someone reads the description of your images, let the person know that this person is actually intellectually sound. And you know that there's this stereotype that photographers used to have. It's just now that they're beginning to respect us small, that they just feel because you're a photographer, you don't know anything, you don't even know how to speak English. You're just someone that maybe has been looking for admission for 10 years and you not get admission, then you just pick up and you go to one studio and you start snapping picture. That's how they used to see photographers before. But at least we are getting our respect back. So you have to be very, very articulate. You have to be able to know how to, narrate your pictures as a storyteller. And then you should also avoid words like strange, exotic, primitive. There are some words that are sensitive and might be demeaning. So please let's avoid them. I think there was a picture that Atiba shared with me, and the person put a very, very funny description. Saying, is it religious thugs? Be something. So from hearing that kind of phrase or word, religious talks, you know that it's very, very contradictive. So let's avoid words that are going to contradict our images. Let's avoid narratives or narrations that are going to be very, very controversial. Let's be careful in doing these things. Now, our color grading too, please keep it natural. These are documentary pictures. Nobody wants to see anything artificial. Sometimes I see documentary pictures that the editing will just go overboard. You make it look too green, looking like one avatar, or you make it feel so saturated. The person's face will be as if they poured palm oil on on the person's face. No. In fact, sometimes when I take images, I just love to leave them like that. That is why when you're setting your camera, you have to get it right at your setting. Any photographer that believes I'll fix it in post, is not a serious person. So you have to get it right. From your principal photographer, you have to get it right. So as I said, keep your color grading natural. If it is red, it should be red. Don't go and do cinematic look. This is documentary. This is not film. So leave it natural. You can do your due diligence to pop the images. Is very, very okay. But just keep it natural. Anybody wants to talk? I think someone unmuted. Okay. So lastly, when we upload a global archive, we are writing history. If we mislabel a ritual, that error can persist for decades. Integrity means being as careful with your words as you are with your focus. The way you are carefully focusing and snapping, be also careful like that when you are putting down your words. Always ask questions. Don't go and misspell. You want to spell the name of the festival and then you just put one funny spelling. No, please don't do that. So always ask questions. What is the name of the festival? They tell you, write it down so that you know that you are getting your diction properly. Are we here? So yeah, I've spoken for long. So I don't think we'll be um let me see. Okay. Then before I answer our questions, we have an engagement activity here. And then anybody can unmute actually to answer. So this is the scenario now. You see a deeply emotional moment during a funeral rite. The lighting is perfect and it will be your best photo of the year. However, the person is in visible distress and hasn't noticed you. Now the question is, do you take the shot? Do you ask the person first or do you put your camera down? Let me ask it again. Okay, yes, the question is there. So please read the question and anybody that can answer can please unmute and answer. So what is your take? Anybody wants to speak? What is your take in a scenario like this? Now, this is going to answer the question of you. Is going to answer the question of you protecting your protagonist interest and the person's dignity, and on the other hand, it is you trying to tell a story. You just got a shot, a moment that is going to be your best picture for the year. In fact, if you put it out there, it might give you an award. So what do you do in a situation like this?
Yeah, I think in a situation like this, if I am in the position, I drop my camera because the person in the frame may not like to see that moment of her being in that position because of the pain it can bring back and all. So no matter how good it will look like, no matter the big story or headline that particular picture can get me, just to protect the protagonist, I will have to drop my camera.
Okay, thank you so much. Can I get maybe two extra responses? What do you do? Do you seek, since I spoke about consent, So if we are going to put it into practice, that means I should seek consent from this person before taking the person's picture. But now we are in a scenario that the person is in distress. Should you go and tap the person and say, I'm sorry, excuse me, can I get your picture? So what should you do in that situation? I'll need another response.
You still take a picture now. It's still short.
You steal the picture?
Yeah, I will still short. I'll still take.
What if you steal the picture and it gets posted, the person sees it and gets angry? Why should my picture be out there? You know the kind of situation that I was. What would you do? You don't go buy market for yourself. That's also another response though. Um Talking with
Hello.
the yeah.
Okay. In a situation like this, I think in my own perspective, I think I
Mm.
would take the shots at that moment.
You
But
take
yet
what?
to, I will take the shots. I will snap.
Okay.
I will snap. I will not keep it. So maybe about a day or after that moment, I will
Mm-hmm.
not have the permission from the person.
After you've taken the shot.
Yes,
So what
he's
should
with
the
me.
person
The shot is with me. Before he's going to be go online or go on
do?
here. I will not ask for the permission. If the person asks me to, yes, I will. But if he or she asks me not to, then I will drop it. But having the picture, maybe I didn't have the picture, and this thing is just that maybe instead of you to take the picture and you didn't take it at that particular moment, and maybe it happened, maybe you see something of that nature online, and you now ask the person, in a situation like this, me too, I have something like that. At the end of the day, the person, why can't you not take it? People will even be telling you, supposed to take it. After taking, you now come to the person, this does, please, like this, you now persuade the person for the uploading. In my own perspective.
Okay. Thank you so much for your response. Someone said here in the comment section that I will just drop my camera because sometimes being human is necessary, which is also a very, very valid point. That's why from the beginning I said sometimes you have to put yourself in your subject's shoe. If you were the person, how would you react to it? So, in as much as sometimes we get a very, very perfect image, we get shots that we really want to post, and in a situation like that, you cannot even seek consent because it's an aftermath. You just have to drop that image, as painful and as inconvenient as it is going to be, which references me back to what I said that photography is not convenience, especially documentary photography is not convenience. Some things are inconvenience for you, but you just have to do it because you have to respect that person. In a case where there are people that you know, and it's okay, you can see consent after. Okay, I took this picture of you during this funeral, can I post it? It's okay. But please, if they are strangers and you don't know them, be very, very careful what you post. And which is why it will lead me back to the question that is being asked here about consent and about contract. Please, whatever event you are going to go and snap, it is not negotiable. Please have a contract signed with whoever it is that is hiring you. As I said, I've been in a lot of mess because of situations like this. At the end of the day, they'll tell you, besides, we didn't sign any contract. They'll use the image to do whatever they want to do. And sometimes in Nigeria, people they don't respect intellectual property, they don't respect copyright. Recently, I was reading about copyright and I actually learned for the first time that I can copyright each of my images. So as a photographer, you can copyright each of your images. Whatever work that you don't want to go out there by someone else, whatever work you don't want to be printed out there by someone else or for marketing purpose, you can copyright it. I just put your copyright on it. So that by the time you see it outside, you know that you can actually sue the person for that. So here is this person's question, Shali. In the area of consent, as documentary photographers, is it compulsory to work with a lawyer? Is it okay to just get the consent template, get approval the from the community contact points and proceed with the project? And also, what does it take to get a lawyer for approving the consent with our subject? So to answer your first question, it is not compulsory to work with a lawyer, but it is necessary. Some things are not compulsory, but they are necessary, especially if you are taking photography as a business and not just something you do out of leisure. And as I said, documentary photography is the most sensitive part of every genre in photography, because you are dealing with people's stories, you are dealing with people's lives, you are dealing with people's perspective, you are dealing with how the other world is going to perceive this certain community, this certain society, or this certain set of people to be. So, in as much as it is not compulsory, I would advise that you get a lawyer. Now, this lawyer is going to guide you through the contract. Most times, we might just go and generate a contract form on AI and our chat GPT, and then we just send it. But you need a lawyer for the person's professional advice, because that is that person's field. This is not your field. So you might need a lawyer to help you interpret the contract, so that you yourself as the photographer, you yourself as the person that is going to get that masterpiece, you understand the contract so well that you will not be bullied out there. I don't know if you get my point. So it is, while it's very, very okay to get your content online and edit it how you want it to be, you can get it. It might be your friend, anyone, a family member that is a lawyer. Okay, please let me go through this contract. What do you think? What are the pros and cons? If this person signs this, what will happen? What are the impacts that it will make 10 years to come, 15 years to come? Okay, if this picture fetches me millions of dollars, how would the person act? How you need to ask questions. Don't treat any of your images as just a pen that can just be thrown anyhow. Hold it as a masterpiece, even if it's just a pen that you snap, that you feel a pen is irrelevant. Hold it to your heart, because this is your masterpiece. This is your sweat. This is something that you use your creativity to snap. So never underrate your images that you feel, is it not just one village in Yobe State that do they even know anything like this? Please, let's not make that mistake. So I know in some situations we might not need the contract or something like that, especially if there are personal documentations that you want to do just out of leisure. But as far as you are being hired by someone, number one, and then number two, as far as you know they are going to take these pictures public, please treat your contract very, very serious. In fact, this contract makes you look very professional. It makes you know what you are doing. There's some documentaries that you might need sponsors. Okay, I want to shoot this documentary, but I need funding. Do you know that you showing them your portfolio, showing them contracts that you signed with people, they will be like, wow, this person is a serious person. But in a situation where you don't have anything to show, you're just there, they'll just look at you like a normal paparazzi, which I believe none of us here is a paparazzi. We are professional photographers. So please treat your contracts, treat your consent very serious, especially when it comes with sensitive issues. In a situation whereby it is a diseased person, it is somebody that cannot talk to a family member, read through this. Do I have your consent to use this image? As I said, let's not try to play smart, because sometimes we'll feel okay if I tell them I might market it. They will know that I'm going to get money. If they know I'm going to get money, they might say, if the picture blows, they should give me 10%, they should give me 20%. So we want to outsmart the person and be like, no, I won't tell them that I'm going to sell the images. It is you bridging that person's right. I know that it is your copyright, that is your image, but still, this is someone's story you are telling. So you have to seek consent and you have to make it as simple. The last to get a lawyer for approving the it's anything. You just give it, person gives you the professional advice, and then that is it. But that's if you are running a freelance photography, you are just doing this for the fun of it. But if you are taking it as a career and if you are taking it as a business, already you have your company or your brand name registered. So ideally, you should have a lawyer that whenever anything happens, this lawyer is going to defend you wherever. So that is the importance of this. It is not compulsory, but I would advise that we have these things in place. As little as the wedding is, I don't document a wedding without the couple signing contract. I'll tell you, okay, this is it, this is that. I might use your pictures for so and so. I own the right to the images. I let it clear to them that I own the right to the images. They might use the images for any digital stuff or whatever it is they want to do, but I own the ownership to the image because my creativity. And as I said from the beginning, you are the creator. You are being paid for your services. Nobody is paying you except if the person wants to pay you off. Some people will pay off and be like, I want to own the image, let me just pay you off. It is a totally different ball game. At that point, you don't have any right to the image. But at the point where you have the copyright to the image, it is your work and nobody can take it from you. So I advise after this, we should read more about. It's a very, very elaborate topic, which if we begin to talk about it, we will not finish today. And I've already taken my 90 minutes. I'm very, very sorry for dragging us this long. At the beginning, I was telling you like that this time is too long for me. I didn't know that I can talk this much. So sorry. So I would advise that we read more about contracts in photography, documentary photography, and we read more about consent forms in whatever it is we are documenting. Thank you so much. Sorry for dragging. And yes, brings us to the end of it. So here is my conclusion that there are 3 pillars to ethics, which is respect, dignity, and integrity. Respect means you honor people's culture. Dignity means you prioritize the person. And integrity means you tell the truth. So all these things that I mentioned for 90 minutes, this is where it ends. Respect, dignity, and integrity. So thank you so much for having me.
You've done really well.